Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm. In this video, we are going to continue where we left off when we made our character. Remember, I made Harold the dead with a hat and a little flower. I'm going to show you how to make a background that looks pretty good on Harold. So over here, we can see in our scene view, Harold is pretty big for the scene. I'm going to actually bring him down just a little bit. I'm going to bring the size down to probably 75. Okay, there we go. So that way we can see more of the background. Now over here, I have one backdrop, which is just this blank stage. I want to create a new one. So unsurprisingly, all the same tools that we would use to create our backdrops are here. Now, when you're creating a backdrop or an environment for your character to hang out in, you want to think about the colors that you're using, and you want to think about how to make your character stand out from the backdrop. So I'm going to create a nice graveyard for our friend Harold to hang out in. I always like to start with a base. So I'm going to make it black here. I like to start with a nice base, right? So a black bottom. And then I'm going to use my brush. Actually, maybe not black. Let's try like green or something. A dark green. Okay. So then here I can delete that. Go back there. Oh, I lost my color. That's okay. We can get it back pretty quickly. I like that. All right. So I'm going to make like a nice dark green base. And then let's see. I want to use I'm going to make a nice night sky. So environments are usually, there's three layers usually. There's the ground layer, there's the the mid ground. So there's the foreground, mid ground, and background. The ground layer usually makes up the foreground. So anything that's right in front of or beside the character, then you have your mid ground and then your background. My mid ground is going to be I'm changing the color of my box because I have it selected. All right. My mid ground is going to be like a blue, a dark, like slate blue. So I'll go ahead and draw that in. There we go. And then my upper background is going to be a nice, I'm just trying to fine tune that a little bit. That looks good. And then my actual background is going to be pure black. Okay. Perfect. Now, unfortunately, there's not a great way to blend these together in Scratch. But what I like to do is I'll take this one and move it down just a little bit because I want these to kind of feel like they're floating into each other. And then I can take my eraser tool here and just kind of like rough up the edge so that there's a little bit of a separation. And then I would find a color that's pretty good in between. So maybe not exactly that same blue, but just a little bit lighter. All right, that's not bad. That's more green that I want. Let's go ahead and push it all the way to the back. And then let's kind of play around with the color a little bit. And actually what you can do, I'm going to select it. And then for the color itself, I'm going to use this eyedrop. And I'm going to grab that color. And then I'm going to just make it just a tad bit darker. Okay. So the blend isn't working exactly the way I want it, but it's starting to look kind of nice, right? So now I have this night sky, I have the stuff behind us. Now the only thing I need to do now is I need to add in some details. So I'm going to add in a foreground detail here. I'm going to add a nice tombstone. So let's bring up the brightness a bit. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to add a nice tombstone coming out of the grave here. Okay. And then I'm going to use that same trick, the eyedropper, to grab this green color. And with my brush, I'm going to just kind of draw. Oh, you know what? I should have done that later. Let's finish up the tombstone here. Okay. And I have my brush. Hello. Oh, I'm going to bring this object to the front. Yeah, bring it all the way to the front. The grass that I drew was kind of in front of it. I'll fill that in and I'll put some writing on it. A little trick with writing is you can just put a black line and it looks like writing, right? I could probably put like RIP or something on there and that would make it look nicer. Now I could add an edge around this, a different, like maybe a darker gray edge, but I'm trying to go quickly. All right, so let's do that thing I was thinking about with the grass here. Oh, not what I wanted. Grab that green, and then maybe bump it up just a little, actually bump the brightness down just a little bit so it's distinguishable against the background. Just want to put some grass in front of this tombstone so it looks like it's kind of overgrown. Right? We don't want it to just like look like it's whatever. Okay, so I have my tombstone. Then in the foreground, I'm going to have a tree that's kind of just, actually I'm going to have it start in front of the frame and then have it kind of come up and branch out over this way. So let's make sure nothing's selected. Let's grab a nice brown. There we go. And then okay. And then I'm going to see if the paint bucket tool will get freaked out. So let's actually finish off this shape so we can use the paint bucket tool. And then we will bring this all the way to the front. And then the paint bucket tool we can use to fill that in. All right. Yeah, you have to finish out the shape before you can use the paint bucket tool. All right. Then with my eraser, I can come in here and just kind of erase pieces of it. Now notice that it erased part of that background as well. Yeah, the eraser tool just kind of like goes in and destroys everything. So let me fix that part here. And then with my brush, I can zoom in for the fine detail work. There we go. Now that looks better. All right, now I can add a bunch of details to this tree here if I'd like, but the problem is it's kind of not looking like I want, and in order to fix it, it's going to take me some time, and we're already 9 minutes into the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move my guy around here in the scene view just to make it look a little bit better. All right, let's go back to the backdrop. And then I do want to add some details though. Let me go ahead and I'm going to decrease the size of my brush because I'm adding finer details. And grab my brush and let's go in here and let's just kind of just add like maybe a little hole for an owl to hang out in. Okay, that looks even worse than I thought. All right, I'm going to leave that here. Again, I can play around with it all day and try to make it look nice, but the thing that you have to remember is if you're familiar with Photoshop or something like that, this doesn't work using layers like Photoshop would. And so it's going to be really difficult for you to kind of make things that are layered like this design without some forethought first, without thinking about it a little bit. One thing I want to do first, though, is I want to get rid of this backdrop 1. I want to rename this to Graveyard. That way I have my graveyard backdrop and I can pull it up whenever I want. Okay, perfect. Good. All right, so that's pretty much it for the character profile assignment. Notice that I have no code. That's one thing you want to make sure you don't have any code in your project. My sprite is named. My backdrop, oh, I didn't name the backdrop here. Oh yeah, I did. I named the costume on the backdrop. So the costume on the backdrop is named. Oh, hello. And then, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. So go ahead and play around, see what you can make. And when you're done, share your projects and turn it in on Canvas. Alrighty. See you guys.